Hello everyone, this is Matin. I'm recording this video in order to teach you how to move from Processing IDE to another IDE. The reason I followed these was because the Processing IDE lacks some features that I'm used to while I code. The most important feature that I really miss in this IDE is that if I use long names for my variables, for example, how many times this code ran equals 0. If I want to assign it again, I have to write whole sentence again. So there is no autocompletion here. So I'm forced to use just tiny named variables. So naming is very important if you want to run your codes. So there were many other features that I missed here, but I noticed that they are available, but you have some difficulties to find them. For example, I had difficulties debugging my application. I will try to show you how I found out the tracing breakpoints in another video if I have time. So the other IDE that I prefer to use and show you is called IntelliJ IDEA. This IDE is very famous nowadays. It is all in Java, and most of Java professionals have been using IntelliJ IDEA. You can download it, and there's also a free version here. If you just press on download, you can see that there's one community edition, which is free and open source, and there's also an ultimate version which can be used for web and mobile and enterprise development. We don't need that one, but this one is available in different operating systems. Let me see. For example, I'm completely sure that there is a Windows version, maybe because I'm on Linux. Here it is. You can choose if you're in Windows, Mac, or Linux. It's available on all these three operating systems. As you download it and install it, you can see that when you start it, it's actually in pure Java. Processing is not pure Java, but this one is pure, which I really like it because I feel really comfortable inside. Let me create a new project. Okay, when the IDE just comes up, you need to choose your new project style. So I want to use an empty Java project. So I do not touch any checkboxes here. Just I click on next. I define a name, for example, processing test would be my project name, and the location is set. So if I finish, I want to do it in a new window. Okay, let's close it. Okay, this is the IDE, and I have a list of what I have here. We have external libraries, which are the Java libraries here, so I can add or delete any one of them. You don't need to touch anything here. And we also have src folder here, which is our sources. So I want to add a class to my sources. Just this is the main class. So this is a pure class. If I want to run it, you can see that the run button is disabled here because I don't have my entry point here. The other thing that processing just doesn't show you is that you need an entry point for your application. Just memorize what I write. Public static void main and string args. So this is it. This is the entry point of your application. So you can run it just by pressing the run button here, and it builds it, and then it just runs. This runs, but there's no code here to show you anything. And you can see that the run button and the debug button is actually enabled. So if I want to use processing in my own application, I should add the processing libraries, the jar files. So this is quite easy, but you need to install processing beforehand. So I'm going to file and project structure. So if I want to add the libraries, I go to libraries and press this plus add button. Want to add a library, Java library. So you need to locate your processing location. So my processing is installed in OPT processing, and the library is in core library core.jar is enough. Okay, so I add it to my processing test module, and you can see it here. And in my modules, I just click I want to export it and use this one, and I need it to be compiled, and I press OK. So from now on, I can use extends p applet and you can see that you saw the extend auto-completed while I was writing, and whenever I type P, you can see everything that starts with P, and some of them it shows that in which package it is. P2D is in processing OpenGL, P3D, and papplet is inside processing.core. So you need to memorize these two. I'm inside my main, so inside the main I should write papplet main, name of the class is main class, and I'll pass the arguments too. So if I run this one, it will show you the processing just window, just like here. But it is empty because I don't have my setup and draw methods. So you simply need to write these methods. Void draw. I just draw a line. As you can see, whenever you open the parentheses, it shows the parameters you need to input. For example, I want to draw from 5 and 5 till 50 and 50. Oh, it just showed that what parameters did I enter. It says these are not part of my code. It just shows that which parameters and which values I've assigned here. And about the draw, it says it needs to be public void draw. Okay, I started here, and now you can see that the line is drawn like this one, and it's quite fine, it works. And the other thing that I noticed here, whenever you create a class in your Processing IDE, it just creates a class just here, class, for example, circle, and I add a method draw, and I would say, oops, I missed the void here. So I will write line, and it works. It simply works because I have access to this method. This method is actually available in the papplet superclass. So whenever the void draw here runs, I need to create a circle, and at the end I would say circle draw, and then it draws simply. There's no problem here, but the problem is somewhere else. If you want to separate this class into another file, you're actually bringing this class out of the scope of papplet. So just let's take a look what happens here. For example, if I create a class called circle2, and just copy and paste these lines, and then it says here, what is a line? I cannot resolve this method. I do not know what it is because it doesn't see the papplet here. And but you actually can instantiate this this object, but the only problem is this line. So in order to fix this problem, I overcome something else. I can say I just create a reference to this papplet here. You can just say this is processing here, and you also can say whenever the setup is run, just processing echoes this, and that's enough. So on the other hand, as it is static, you can say you can simply say matin, as you no, it's not matin, it's main class dot processing dot and line, and it knows what it is. So I just run it, and you can see that it draws just fine, and the files are actually the thing that you can see here are stored, like, let's locate it, IDE's processing test. So your sources are here in src folder. We have circle2.java, which contains Java codes and main class here. So on the output and production, you can see it is converted to class, but this doesn't have any codes inside. It's the compiled code here. But if you want to have it in just a single file, just like a jar file, you just need to go to your project structure and add an artifact, a jar file artifact from modules. I want to say I want to use processing test. I want to have my main class inside it. So I want to extract it, target jar file, and Okay, it just creates it. So in here it says in this jar file it creates it actually includes core.jar, which is processings, and my code processing test, and I want to include it in my build project, and then just say okay. And whenever I just build it, you can see that there's another folder just appears here, and this is the jar file which contains all my classes here. If I just open it, you can see that I have my classes, and there are processings classes here too, and you can simply run it. Just you need to just open a terminal. Let's copy and paste this address here, and I can say Java processing test.jar. Okay, so there's something missing here. I need to define my main class in my project structure, and inside here the main class is my main class, and the main method is this one. I don't know if it understands it or not, but the class path I don't know what happened here. It simply could be able to run it. Let's pause it here and understand the reason. Okay, I found the reason. The reason was I needed to just point that this is a jar file, and I say java-jar and my jar file, and it simply runs like this. And you can simply use this IDE. It has a lot of features here, and I really like this IDE. And let's think of another things to say here. There are lots of references about this IDE. You can just search IntelliJ IDEA and just say color scheme. You can say auto format, auto completion, auto save, and many other things. And surprisingly, Android Studio is based on IntelliJ IDEA too. And yeah, it says here built on JetBrains IntelliJ IDEA, so Android Studio is like that too. But many other people prefer Eclipse, and there are many other Java IDEs out there. Java IDE, and you can see that there are Eclipse, NetBeans, IntelliJ IDEA, BlueJ, JDeveloper, and there are a lot. But my favorite is IntelliJ IDEA. I used these three, and that's it. Ask any questions if you had, and wish you good coding.